After this video, you know exactly how to get full marks on language paper 2, question 4. I think this is one of the hardest questions on both the language papers. So after this, I'm also going to give you the top 3 mistakes that students use. If you watch this to the end, you will not make these mistakes. Don't be like the rest of them. We've got this. So firstly, what is the question? What the hell is going on? Compare how the writers convey their different perspectives and attitudes. Now this throws everybody and their dog. Like, perspectives and attitudes? What does that even mean? In like layman's terms, in simple terms, they're just talking about opinions. What's their opinion? Do they like something? Do they dislike something? Are they for something? Are they against something? Think about perspectives and attitudes just being for and against. You need to compare the viewpoints and methods used by writers across both sources. Don't just do one, it's both. And the marks is about 16, and the time is 18 to 20, 25 minutes with extra time. So techniques to analyse. Now for this question, we can use language and structure techniques because we're talking about writers' methods. So writers' methods can be anything. It can be language techniques. It can be structure techniques. It can even be tone of voice. You can even include that for this one as well. So for example, some techniques we can analyse. Alliteration. The definition of that. Okay, now let's look at some techniques. So techniques, as I said, there are a few different techniques we can talk about. The first one is language choices. So we can talk about like emotive verbs, metaphors, repetition. A lot of you are probably the most familiar and confident with language. The rest of them, not so much. Tone. This is something nobody ever comments on. You absolutely can. And it's quite an easy one to pick out, right? If you're not really confident with techniques, picking out tone. Are they confident? Are they tense? Are they reflective? Think about what was their tone of voice. Think about if your parents are telling you off, right? Or teacher is shouting at you. What's their tone of voice? They might be a bit condescending or patronising. Or maybe, you know, they're furious. Like, what is their tone? And thinking about how that contributes to what they're trying to present. The structure techniques. Again, what is the build-up? Are there shifts? When I say shifts, do they focus on one thing, then change to another? Are there short paragraphs? Are there long paragraphs? That's what a structure technique is. And then perspectives. Is it a first-person insight? Is it a narrative voice? You can also comment on that for how that conveys their writer's perspectives and opinions. Because remember, attitudes and perspectives just means their opinions. And I just want to drill this in because everyone gets so confused with like perspectives, what that means. If you was thinking about, if I said, right, let's go for this, right? If I said the earth is flat, what do you think my perspective is? What do you think my opinion is on the world being round? It's that I think it's flat. So my perspective, or my opinion, right, perspective, is I disagree with it. I'm not saying I believe that, but I'm just saying, as an opinion, if I was saying, right, meat is really bad. Again, what is my perspective? What is my perspective on meat? My perspective is that meat's not a good thing, that people shouldn't consume it. Again, none of these are necessarily my opinions, but I'm just giving you examples saying what you're trying to look at with perspectives and attitudes, it's just their opinion. And the easiest way for this, guys, the biggest thing I want you to do is make sure that you're understanding, you're grouping them together in paragraphs to compare their perspectives. Because it's really hard because there's so much you could be talking about for this. Think about, okay, how do I compare their writer's perspectives? So they're talking about one thing and another. What you want to do is try and have a structure that allows you to know how to compare each one in each paragraph. And what you want as well is sentence starters like this. So you could know going into the exam, okay, paragraph 1 is going to be on this. I'm going to use this structure. I'm going to use these sentence starters and then look at model examples. Because I cannot stress enough, the way to get a top grade in language and the way to revise it is to have structures that have been created by examiners and teachers, not just things you're spitting out in ChatGPT. Because ChatGPT hasn't done this for years, doesn't really know. It's pulling loads of information, but actually what works and how students use it. Make sure you've got a reliable source, guys. That's all I can say because the ChatGPT era, it's great, it's useful, but it's also going to kill a lot of your grades. So just please be careful. Okay, mistake number 1 is not exploring different attitudes across the text. So what this looks like is a low-level example. Writer A is angry and writer B is calm. I wonder why this is wrong. So this is vague, it's undeveloped, and shows no understanding of how the attitudes are revealed or how they shift across the text. When I say how, is how have they done that? How do you know that the writer A is angry? Give me some evidence, give me some techniques of how you know that. The fact that you've been able to pull it out, the fact that you know that they're angry, is actually the hardest bit. Just now tell me how you got to that conclusion. So think about almost working backwards. What most of you tend to do is you'll give me the answer. I just want the steps before that. Just tell me how you knew they were angry. Was it because you read that he snarled or like he was bellowing or whatever it is? What made you know that? Just tell me. Remember, pretend the examiner is an idiot. They know nothing. Explain everything to me. Now, how to fix it? You want to track how the writer's attitude is revealed and developed, use embedded evidence, and link to changing tone to the writer's purpose or viewpoint. So, in a high-level example, what we want to do, when we're talking about how the writer's attitude is revealed, where is it shown? Is it stay the same? When is it revealed? So in source A, the writer's anger intensifies throughout, revealed in the shift from subtle discontent to open fury, as shown in the phrase, I refuse to be silent any longer. So you can see that it's revealed in a shift. I've described the shift in attitude. This shift shows a growing urgency. In contrast, source B maintains a calm and accepting tone, especially in we've learned to adapt with quiet dignity, which reflects a perspective root in resilience rather than outrage. So you can see that what I've done is I've spoken about how their attitudes have changed. That's what I'm comparing. Then I've embedded in a quote. You can see I've embedded it in. And then I've linked it to the change, their writer's viewpoint and perspective. The difference in tone emphasizes their contrasting emotional responses to similar issues. So that is my point of comparison and what I'm making. Really easy. I'm exploring their different attitudes and I'm comparing as well. Have they changed or have they not changed? Mistake number 2 is not comparing methods. So when I say writer's methods was on the other side, language, structure, tone, perspective. So a low-level example would be writer A uses emotive language, writer B uses facts, which technically is a comparison of techniques, but we need more depth than that. It's not really a comparison. I mean, it's giving, you could argue, it's Satan side by side, but it's just labeling 2 techniques. It doesn't explain how each method shapes the writer's viewpoint or how they are used differently. When I say the writer's method, how it shapes their viewpoint, if you know that the writer is really for meat, how do you know that? What's telling you that? Have they got loads of emotive language in there? Have they got shorter sentences when they're talking about veganism? You know, what is it that's really made you understand that? Because again, we don't just be looking at the words they're using, thinking about everything else. And that's why it's really important, guys, to make sure you know the effects of techniques. Because if you know the effects of techniques, it's then super easy to then be able to link it to whatever you're talking about. So let's say, for example, I'm just going to go on to, I'll choose structured techniques today. Let's say I go on to structured techniques and I have pre-learned, we'll go with the cyclical structure. I have pre-learned that the effect of a cyclical structure is that it forces the reader to consider what has happened over the course of the text and how it's changed the characters or the outcome. That is the effect of a cyclical structure. So say I've pre-learned that and I know that I've looked in my extract and it's a cyclical structure. I'm thinking, amazing, cool. All I want to do is link the effect to what they're talking about. So again, we've gone down the road of like people hating me. Let's just pretend we've got that. And they've used a cyclical structure. So if I know it's comparing how it's changed the characters or the outcome, I might say the cyclical structure reinforces how there's this cyclical, endless nature of the speaker despising meat, or how they will continually go around and fight for animal rights, or whatever it's talking about. I'm just linking the effect, which will be a bit of a general effect, to the source. That's all I'm doing. Let me show you another example here. Let's look at asyndetic listing. So asyndetic listing is to increase the pace of a text with the way that the listed items are quickly accumulate. So again, if I saw an asyndetic listing in my hypothetical extract about someone hating meat and they're saying like disgusting, dehumanizing, exploitative, I could say the asyndetic listing increases the pace of the text, that's the effect, which emphasizes how rapidly they are speaking about this or how rapidly they want to go over this because they really want to emphasize this point. Or it increases the pace of the text to show the emotional significance of this and how it's this heightened emotional sadness about me. Whatever it is, you can kind of just see I'm linking the effect of it, which is the pace of the text. Obviously, with a no extract, it's hard just to make up something if I've not read it. But you kind of get the point of like linking it. You just got to pre-learn the effect and then just link it back to whatever you're talking about. Super easy. So what we want to do is compare how and why the methods differ. So we want to explain how each writer's choice of method supports their attitude or argument. So, for example here, while writer A uses emotive language such as shameful neglect to provoke a strong emotional reaction, the connotations of shameful and neglect highlight the writer's anger and aim to stir outrage in the reader. That's how they've done it. They've used emotive language, and then I'm going to link it to why. This choice of language creates a tone of moral condemnation. basically meaning they're condemning something, they're not for something. Suggesting the writer wants to expose injustice and demand accountability. In contrast, writer B uses measured statistics like a 15% decrease in cases, which creates a tone of calm, authority, and factual reliability. So you can see that I've compared the writer's methods. I've compared one's use emotional language, one's use facts. So that's a comparison. This approach reassures the reader by implying progress and control, reflecting a perspective focused on informing rather than provoking. So you can see that I've commented on how they've done it. One's one technique, one's the other. Then I've explained why their methods differ, because one of them is trying to create a tone of moral condemnation. One's trying to reassure the reader by kind of creating a sense of control. And you'll always try and link the why to the technique. So if something's really emotional, it's going to be a bit more chaotic. It's coming from the heart. If it's more factually or based on statistics, of course, someone's maybe trying to prove something or convince someone. So you can kind of see how those techniques, you need to know the effect of them, but also what kind of tone or what kind of person would be using them to achieve such an effect. Because if I was saying to you for something about a mobile phone, if I was saying to you like something about you not using your phone, if I said, your eyes are going to bulge out your head, your brain's frying, that's more emotional. Or if I said 24% of teenagers have premature brain... let's go again. Let's say 24% of teenagers will lose their mind before the age of 40 due to overconsumptions of phones. Dun, dun, dun. Dramatic. So think about that. Emotional versus a statistical approach. If someone's being more statistical or factual, they're trying to convince you. They're trying to really be a bit more compelling. If they're emotional, they're trying to pull on your heartstrings. So just think about if writers are using that, how that links, and then you can compare their methods. So guys, that's an overall top mistakes, the structure you should use, some techniques to use. Just make sure that when you do this question, we're comparing the methods and give me how and why for absolutely everything.